Hey everybody, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Frank.
and we're going to take you behind the headstock again with part two of the Guitar of the Week program that Frank and I worked on, developed all these models. Today we're gonna walk you through week 4 through 12. Now, if you missed out on part one, I'll put the link in the description. You can watch the first part of the Guitar of the Week program where we describe everything that happened. But stick around. We'll take you through the end of the quarter through week 12.
Go behind the headstock with Kevin and Frank, two ex-Gibson employees talking about guitars and the guitar industry with an inside perspective.
All right, so let's get down to it. As I said before, in the last episode, we went through model 1, 2, and 3. We talked about some of the discrepancies of the guitars on the list. So when I'm listing the guitars of the week here, they might not match up with what you find elsewhere on the internet, but we're going by what our official price lists were from 2007. All right. All right, so let's jump in here. I'll share my screen. Here's week 4. This is the money base in Midnight Manhattan, or Manhattan Midnight.
Right. Great color.
Great color that we did on a Les Paul Limited a few years before.
Yeah, with the white binding.
Oh God, we sold a ton of those, right? They were so good looking.
It was a nice guitar.
Yep. So, you know what, Frank? Really, most of the basses in the guitars of the week, you did.
Yeah,
Right.
I had a little bass,
Well, your
background,
background with Tobias, right? Yep.
right? And I always wanted to push a little bit of Gibson basses a little bit, go somewhere different,
True.
than just the T-Bird. The T-Bird was the mainstay, but there was so much more we could do with it.
Right. So,
So
but
I thought, yeah.
do you remember the genesis of the money base?
I had started fooling around with an offset double cutaway, kind of mocking the PRS a little bit, kind of, but
Yeah.
it was kind of across. And the term money base was all Henry. He just thought that up,
Right.
and he wanted a dollar sign on the
Yep. He made us do that.
front
Yep.
cover or something, So, but really, it was just, a nice, easy, easy playing bass that was great, and neck fit, a glued in neck, and nice humbucking pickups. I was working in electronics for a while. We started messing around with the T-Bird pickups and putting them into the covers for like the Les Paul bass that, we had to do that. Henry had us doing, the Les Paul basses, like the standard bass and all that.
Yep.
We had,
Yep.
I think that was a little bit before this.
Yep.
But that's kind of the genesis of that, because we wanted, honestly, we wanted the look of, 3 Les Pauls on the stage,
Right.
So
Right. And it's even though it's a little offset, it's still very Gibson looking.
yeah, it was kind of, we had that idea to kind of morph it a little bit, but
Right.
yeah, it worked.
All right, let's look at, I think the back is up next. There's the back of it in plain
Yeah,
black.
played comfortably, it hung nice, with the strap. It was a nice bass.
Yeah.
And 400, there wasn't that big of a deal to try to sell 400 basses,
Yo, this bass is money.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure he had a couple of younger kids at the time, and he probably heard that slang getting thrown around the house, right? And he thought it was cool.
Yeah, probably. Who knows where the stuff came from?
Right.
It came from floating up in the air in his office, because he would look up for a minute and then come up with an idea, and it
The
would be
money
like, what?
base. Yeah.
You want to call it what? Why? Why?
I mean,
Why?
we weren't going to argue with him when he said, let's call it the money base. You go, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to do it, so whatever,
Right.
So I thought we could sell them, and we needed something to put in. It was easy for production, pretty much,
Yeah, again, like we said in the previous episode, we had to figure out models that were easy to produce for the first 12 at least, right? We couldn't go too crazy off the beaten path. So,
Right. I mean,
yeah.
think about, we couldn't have like the hard shell cases. I think it actually fit in something else shape, so they could make the case pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Or we put it in a gig bag, maybe. I don't recall. But yeah, I mean, it was everything like that. I mean, changing the body shape mean getting a new case, which meant 6 months
Oh,
of
yeah.
testing and whatever,
Yep.
So it wasn't like that stuff just came out.
Because
So
we went through a lot of cases every single month.
oh my goodness, yeah.
Amazing amount of cases, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what's next in week 5.
Oh wow, that's pretty.
Yeah. So the Les Paul Supreme in Autumn Burst.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yep. And what's funny is we've mentioned this guy's name the last couple episodes, but that was Chris Roberts.
Yeah.
I remember him
Chris is
coming back
an
saying, "Hey,
excellent
what do you think of
painter.
this color?" And I think it was me, you, and Keith Medley were in a meeting talking about something, and that was just sitting in a chair. And as we're going through the meeting, I think I came up with it. I go, "How about Autumn Burst?"
Yeah.
Because it's in this picture, it doesn't really do that much justice, but there is a lot of dark red in there, right? It's very
Right.
autumn
It's
leafy
translucent.
looking.
You can see the flame top through there still.
Oh
Even
yeah.
though the switch is up there and it looks like it's black, it's really not. It's really just a dark
Oh, it was gorgeous.
cherry. It's yeah. Chris is an amazing painter.
Yeah, and we'll see it a little later too. When he did certain prototypes, they were phenomenal, and they didn't always come through the plant that way.
Well, like I
Because
said,
not
Chris,
everybody was Chris.
right. I mean, it's
Now,
very, very hand coordinated, and you got to have the eye for it. And Chris
totally,
definitely, yeah.
was a total badass. All right, one other thing about the Les Paul Supreme Guitar of the Week. I forget who came to us, Frank, but it might have been you who said, "Hey, we got a whole load of flame ebony in."
Yeah. It never really, you can't see it in the photos real well,
Yeah.
but it was
So
heavily figured ebony pieces.
it was
Wow, there was
amazing.
no inlays.
Never saw anything like that, right?
Right.
And we're like, "Do you guys want to buy it?" We're like, "Yes."
Well, and then, we had, Miss Helen Tarpley grading stuff out, and she would pull them off and send them to the side if she ever found nice stuff,
Yep.
And there were some other things like I don't think we did the whole headstock veneer right with the globe and all that.
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay.
Yep.
But we definitely didn't put inlays. We did less binding, I think, too, right?
No, it's got all the same binding.
I think the back only had like a one single ply on the back or something.
No, it's got 3.
Oh, okay. I can't see it really well.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to put my glasses on. I look older.
I gotcha. So the funny thing was, so we decided to put this flame ebony fingerboard on it. Now, when the prototype came out and they cut all the fret slots in it, it kind of broke up the whole pattern of the flame of the ebony. We thought, oh, well, that didn't come out how we thought it was going to look, right?
You can kind of see it in that photo right there on the bottom. But yeah, it's definitely much prettier in person.
Yep. Well, what's amazing is, Frank, there's a lot of people out there don't realize that's flame ebony on there.
Yeah, figured
right?
ebony. Crazy.
So
yeah.
There's a person who does reviews of guitars. It's Trogley, who does a phenomenal job on everything. He's amazing. If you've never checked out Trogley's show, check him out.
Right.
So he got one of these in and was reviewing it, and he kind of bashed it a little bit, saying it's the least supreme of the Supremes because it didn't have the inlay.
Right.
Well, that's because now you know the story.
The wood. Yeah.
It was flame ebony that you don't see.
We couldn't cut it. We couldn't put an inlay in there at all. It was
we were like, let's show it off, but the frets kind of like again
I wish
kind
I
of broke
made
up.
them fretless, right? Should have made a fretless guitar for Dweezil.
Anyway, so that I love that guitar. All right, let's check out the next one. Week 6.
Okay. That's a different take on the Fireburst kind of.
Yeah, this is a classic antique.
Right.
that I was kind of ripping off Paul Reed Smith with a reverse burst.
Right.
Now this one is an example of the production models did not look like the sample.
It's really hard to get that orangey up the side, right
Well,
where the switch is.
what
And
happened was most of these out there in the field have this black smiley face.
right, yeah.
Here's one that's a little more like the sample that Chris Roberts did, saying his name again. It's got a little more fade in it, but the original had a lot more black and like a V shape.
Right.
It was gorgeous, but those are the production ones that came out. Again, great looking guitar.
Yeah. And like you said, once again, something that we already had all the parts, the head
Right.
veneers, all the stuff was in stock. And it was easy enough to just, okay, let's do this, guitar number, 17, whatever,
Yep. What was it again? Hold on. 6.
6, yeah.
Yeah, just a different spray pattern. We had all the
But
paint in house.
it had to be something we could turn quick because, I mean, think about it. We didn't really have, that much time to come up with this. Like we talked
Nope.
about in the last episode, it was like, okay, we need 48 guitars.
Go.
Well, when I went to purchasing department, and I was like, just threw it on the table. Okay, what do we got? What are our options? Bring me in some new knobs, bring in new, companies. It was really an opportunity for companies who were making weird stuff to try to get in, because if they could make it and give it to us, get it to us quick,
We could throw it on there.
we could use it,
Yep. Oh, okay. Well, here's another sample then of a little more of the black and the fade there at the bottom.
Right. That's a hard thing to spray, though.
This is a low res picture of probably what Sandy originally photographed of the prototype for the original website. I don't know. I still think it's pretty cool though. All right.
And then we weren't making deluxes at the time, so we brought the deluxe back as part of that deal.
Well, you know what's funny? We were making deluxes for, it was either GC or Yamato.
Right.
But we made this one a little different, probably to not piss them off. So, look, I'm a huge Pete Townsend fan. I don't know if you can see my little black Pete Townsend inspired guitar back here, but one of the things that Frank and I also did at this period, thinking we need 48 new models, let's pay tribute to some of our heroes without having to spend the time to go talk to our heroes and get the contracts and signatures. So this is kind of a tip of the hat to Pete Townsend of The Who played deluxes a lot during the 70s.
Right.
But here's what's cool. I'll show you. The back is beautiful too.
Oh, we did the classic antique.
I don't remember that, but that we probably did that to not upset the limited editions we were already doing.
It wasn't the signature. It wasn't the production model. It was a classic antique. It probably had a 60s neck too.
Probably.
Right. It had a 60s neck, which the deluxe did not have.
No, definitely not. And we put speed knobs on it, not the reflector knobs.
Right. So yeah, it was just a hodgepodge Frankenstein of parts. That was a really nice guitar, and why not?
Yeah, why not?
I love the bound headstock, especially it just frames the whole guitar.
Yep,
the
with the
single
little
ply cream binding that we did on that, we had that done.
And the pineapple inlay.
Right, it makes the whole, guitar. The neck's bound, the body's bound, the headstock's bound, and it all matches. It's kind of like the, a really aesthetic, pleasing look to it.
It's just a little sexier than a normal deluxe.
Right, it's just a little different.
Now, here's what's funny. I found this out later. There were some deluxes made back in the day that did have the 335 inlay.
Really?
Yep, early on. Yep. Or it
Uh,
might have been 68 standard. Well, they didn't call it a standard till 76, but like in 68, like around that time period, yeah, they did some runs that had that pineapple inlay or the keystone inlay, whatever you want to call it. And we went to the white cases. Remember we were having some problems with the black cases and the dye bleeding on binding?
oh yeah, yeah,
That was horrible.
yeah.
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 We worked
I
with
mean,
Tom at
first it was
TKO and we
pink.
went, you know what? Let's go white.
First it was pink. Yeah, and
Yep.
that was like specially non-dyed, bleached fabric.
Yep.
It makes a nice case.
We never had a problem with the white fur. Nope.
Nope, never. Our problem was solved. Oh, right. Next.
That's gorgeous.
That's a rare one. That's from my Tobias days.
Yep. That's
I
all
want
you, Frank. That
I
one was
wanted to
all
use the
you. Yep.
Zebrawood. Well, it's just a Zebrawood, but if you notice, look at the flame mahogany necks that we had.
Unbelievable.
Look at the figure in that mahogany on the
Yep.
neck. We had figured mahogany necks of those.
Come on. Look at that.
Yeah, and that was just a beautiful guitar. I thought, man, with the black guard
Yep.
and the gold Firebird, and man, what a great sounding. And that wood, the zebra wood, is so resonant. From learned a lot about that from Mike Tobias, but it's beautifully striking and different, and it was easy to do. We just glued it together, and satin finish, and what a
Yep.
beauty.
Yeah, we
I
didn't really
actually
have to
had one
stray
of
too
those.
far with that one. But hey, the other thing is, I always thought Firebirds were one of our most underrated models. Firebirds are great, great sounding guitars.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of problems with them buzzing. And if you notice that we put a tune-o-matic on those Firebirds.
Mm.
Firebird originally had like the ABR and it would rattle, and that rattling bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And because it normally used to be just a post, there would be just a post screwed into the guitar.
Right.
And we went to the tune-o-matic on it to try to firm it up, because the pickups are metal pickups and they rattle a little bit. It was kind of a jangly guitar, and people used to send them back for buzzing, but it wasn't buzzing. It was just a metal
The bridge.
Yeah, well, it was the bridge. It was the combination of the metal pickups. The
Oh,
way those
yeah.
pickups were made, they had like a little cinnamon nut on the bottom of it, and it screwed in, and it was like the springs would always get hung up, and it was really a kind of a janky setup. Until we fixed it, we started getting tapped plates. So I went away from that cinnamon nut. If you look at the old Firebirds, they had this nut that went onto the pickup base plate. It was like a little it was what it called spring steel, and it would slide over the thing, and it would always hurt your finger, and it would turn sideways and hit the side of the pickup cavity, so the pickups wouldn't adjust.
Mm.
It was just a pain in the butt, and all because we didn't want to have base plates made that were tapped for the screws that we use. And I was like, well, why not? Let's
Yeah,
pay
why
for that.
not?
Pay for the tooling, and we'll get away from that nut, and we could just screw them together. And we changed that, and man, what a difference it made in the sound of the guitars
Mm-hmm.
and everything else. So yeah, I loved Firebird. Yeah,
Let's look at the
I was
back.
a Johnny Winter fan growing up. So
This is not
could you not?
this is not the same model we showed the front of. I couldn't find a back shot of it, but I found this
Right.
one.
Yeah, you could tell that grain. Every one of them was totally different on
Yep.
those Zebrawoods. But a beautiful guitar and perfect for the Firebird. I hope
So
people
cool.
still love those guitars.
Yeah.
I did. I thought that was great. There we go with the Bound Explorers.
Yeah, in
Trunk
our
to
last
body.
episode that, we encourage you to go back and watch the first Guitar of the Week episode. We Frank revealed that the size of this guitar was based on the binding, not the opposite way, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, it was like, well, what's our surface area? Get out the calculator, Keith, and we get on there, and we made it big to bind it, to make the binding go around with one trip.
One
around
strip.
The yep.
I don't remember why we went with vintage first, but why not?
Well, if you really want to know, I know why we did. because we did amber ones later that were natural. And if there was a flaw next to the binding, a little flub up next to the binding,
Yeah, we could hide it.
there you go. There's
Yeah.
the tobacco burst or vintage sunburst, or, you know, because there was really nothing structural. But what are you going to do? Whenever
Yeah, if you had a little mineral streak down here in this horn, yeah, you could cover it.
Whenever you had a guitar that you only did natural with, it was difficult.
Yeah.
You always had to have another outlet for the guitar, somewhere else for it to go. Oh, we could paint it vintage sunburst, because look, it's a beautiful flame top on that guitar.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's killer.
And, you know, that doesn't mean that all of them were, but we could have had 19 or 20 bodies that were piling up that we needed to get rid of. So we'll do a vintage sunburst model, and that gets rid of those, you know.
Yep.
And as you're doing the amber ones, you got a place for them to go if something happens. Oh, that one's a vintage sunburst.
Now I remember talking to Henry about redoing this model, because the first time we did it, it did okay, but it was expensive. So did the first ones have trapezoid inlay?
I don't think so.
No, it was still dot. Okay, I just remember him going, all right, well, you know, fix the price.
Dot boards. They were always dots on the Explorers.
That's
we
true.
Put binding on it to give it a nicer feel, kind of. And that's a really comfortable playing guitar. Sitting down.
Oh, super comfortable. Guitar,
yeah. It's super comfortable. Yeah. So
we have a back shot. Oh yeah, there's a back shot.
Yep. Yeah, had to put 2 cavities in it to get the wires through. And then we'd shoot the gun drill, which is a drill with a super long bit, and go through the jack plate and through that cavity and then into that one. Right? So
how'd your gun drill it? Through the pickup cavity then, this way?
Through the jack hole straight up. Into there, shot it straight up, boom. Through the back cavity. And
oh yeah, but you, one. Got it, yeah.
You know, and this way we didn't. Or I mean, if that didn't work at first, we thought about going up into the pickup cavity, but then you got to have your switch wire go up into the pickup and then back out of the pickup.
Oh yeah, that switch cavity is right there in that horn.
Right, so we just drill the hole straight through to connect them 2 together, and then you drill the gun drill through before you neck fit it. You drill down through the center of the pickups, so you get the hole down there for the wire to go into the rear pickup cavity.
Yep.
So yeah, cool little guitars.
Yep.
And once again, once we had cases made for them, then it was easy to just, you know, change the color. Okay, what are we doing this one?
Yeah, and TKL already had the case from the first run, so it's not didn't have to rebuild it.
Yep, same thing there, man. Look at that.
Yep. I wish I had a better picture.
Yeah, but it was a beauty, you know. It works. T-Bird.
Yep.
Great bass.
Did I find a back? There's a back. Yep.
Yeah, so we did some good ones with that, you know. The Firebird and the T-Bird matching sets were nice. Yeah.
I got to find a better picture. All right. What week was that? 10? All right, we got 2 more left. Let's go to 11. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Tom Morgan.
From Marvel Comics.
Yeah, no, not really.
We talked about that in the previous episode.
From Donaldson, Tennessee.
Yep.
Tom is a great guy. I think he's still working there.
Hey,
he's had health issues.
Last time I was in there, he was there.
He's had some health issues, and I know he's been, you know, off and on out, but great painter, inventive guy, nicest man you'd ever want to meet in your life.
Yeah, he was super nice.
And he did that with like a card. He would cut it out.
Yeah.
And like a shield, you know. And he goes down in waves. And it's cool looking paint job for sure. But yeah, people didn't know. And Henry was like, I want him to sign it. And that was from the old member, George St. Pierre.
George St. Pierre, yep. You mean that?
Yep, I remember those. Yeah, so they had Tom putting his name on them, every one of them. But you know what to me, that I thought, considered it an honor for us to do that. And he
Totally.
was like, he was so happy to do that. He didn't want to do it. He's like, I don't want to put my name on it. I was like, you know, Henry says, you got to sign him, man. You know, nobody knows who I am. Well, they will, you know, and it doesn't matter. He was proud of that, you know, like you wouldn't believe,
Yeah.
you know. So,
But he was in the back coming up with all sorts of color options.
oh, he did some cool stuff that we never got to, man.
Right.
He was experimenting with water. He would like spray the guitar and then put water on it and then spray it over top of the water. And then the water would dry up and it would leave all like these bubbles, like, you know how like water, you know, surface bubbles.
Yeah.
But it would leave it in the paint. It was the coolest look, man. And we probably would have got to that eventually, but he had done a bunch of different cool paint jobs. He was always experimenting. He was back in the repair department.
He always had a couple of like guitar trees with like just insane stuff on it that I'd love to show people during a tour.
All kind of stuff. Yeah, like torn. Like he did the one, dude, I don't know if we did that in this series or not, where we like tore away the paint job.
Yeah.
It looked like it was a black paint job that somebody tore the black paint off and it was a sunburst underneath.
I think that came later, like after the flood.
I remember we did something like that because
totally.
Imagine if somebody had like, you know, a black paint on the guitar and they started stripping off and they see it's a nice, beautiful sunburst underneath. And I was like, that was a cool idea. So
it was pretty shocking. Yeah.
Yeah. He ripped it, did like, you know, like the monster rip where the claws gouged through it, you know?
You know what? I'll see if I can find one and I'll throw it in the video here. I don't have it right now in my presentation, but I'll see if I can throw one in there.
This is another way to prove that Tom is a very inventive man and a very great painter. And he did some really cool stuff that we really relied on. It was really a team effort, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We would put all this stuff together and Henry'd be like, find somebody to paint it. And I knew who to go to, you know? Hey, we wanted some guy to paint something cool. And I said, okay, I got that guy, you know? I know him. He works right here. So, and he was always willing to do something and work over and, you know, the swirl guitars and, you know, that was all his baby, you know? So.
All right, let's go to week 12, the last guitar for our episode here, and it's SG Supreme Bass and Natural.
Yeah, that's a great bass. It's a 50-50 was the bodies were split maple and mahogany, right? I think that had a mahogany back on that thing, right?
Yep.
There you go. Yep, 50-50. Maple mahogany. Nice take on an SG, a nice clean looking bass. Something pretty for the bass players to look at, you know?
Totally, right? With a gorgeous flame maple top. Sometimes the pictures don't do it justice. But yeah, some of them came out just amazing, you know?
Yeah. Well, because they were thinner, you know, and therein lies another production issue. All right. So what do you do with a maple top that's really great, but it's a little too thin to be a Les Paul because of the carve?
Right.
Well, we don't do SG, and it's not thick enough to make a full SG body, where we did the SG, you know, premiums or whatever they were called.
Selects.
Okay. But so we had a nice piece of flame maple that was half as thick as it needed to be. Okay, great. There we go.
Yeah.
Now we could take one billet and split it in half and make a bass. So what we would take two to make a Les Paul, we could make two basses.
Right.
The same amount of wood to make one Les Paul top made two of these basses. So that was nice, you know, and it was a pretty bass. And we had that pickup change that we did from the SG bass originally.
Hey, talk more about that, because weren't they really Thunderbird pickups?
Well, initially, yeah, it started out that the pickup that was in that behind that cover in the original SG basses and like the Ripper and stuff like that was a side winder? I think they called it. Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And they had like the coils were laid off on the side. and then it had a weird kind of way where the pole pieces went through, and it was really didn't work, and it was very hard to assemble, and it really didn't sound the greatest because the coils weren't really under the strings that they were affecting. It just relied on the pole pieces, and it didn't really work that well. So I was like, well, I love the look of it. Let's just put a humbucker pickup underneath it. So what we did is we turned the coils back over the normal way, and we put blades going through, and then we put a little spacer in the middle that had the pole pieces threaded in. So actually those pole pieces are just for looks. They don't actually touch the magnet of the pickup. They don't.
Oh, no?
Nope. They're
on
just
both pickups or just the neck one?
Just the neck.
Okay.
The other in the back is just like a Les Paul Deluxe pickup, only with 4 screws instead of 6. Too many.
So that neck pickup, the pole pieces are just there for looks.
No, yeah, they're screwed into a piece of aluminum, which had to be aluminum, non-conductive metal.
I never knew that. That's great.
It had to be non-conductive metal because we didn't want it to short out. So, it was aluminum piece that we threaded, and we just put the screws in the aluminum piece. They do absolutely nothing. Yeah.
That's funny. Now, I did a few gigs. I did a few fill-in gigs with an SG bass. Not this one exactly, but, the regular mahogany one with those new pickups. They sounded great.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
So if people are looking at thinking they're the old style pickups, no.
Yeah,
These pickups are killer.
Anything after 2000 that's in that cover is new.
Yeah.
At least maybe even earlier than that. But yeah, I think we didn't bring that back until after that. So yeah.
So don't judge
when I was in the pickup department. I was like, man, we got to get that cover back. And the places made that I could find the cover, but making that pickup was like, oh man, we went through the design again, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And so we came up with the new pickup and put it in there, and it sounded great, and it was a humbucker, and it worked great, and it's in the perfect spot. That's a cool little 28-inch scale bass,
Yep.
And for a guitar player that plays bass,
perfect.
This is bass for you.
That's why I loved it so much. Yeah, it was great.
Look at Paul McCartney's dude plays it all the time.
Yeah.
Still, when you see Paul McCartney and Paul's playing guitar, another dude has to play bass, he's playing one of these SG basses.
Great.
It sounds great. And it's really easy to play. Like I said, 28-inch scale, short scale. Jack Bruce. I really wanted to get Jack Bruce back, but he was already with Warwick at that time. But I really wanted Jack Bruce because, man, them Cream, the sound of his bass and Cream, the way he played it and the distortion that came through.
It would have been the perfect pairing.
Yeah. Those Cream shows should have been done with Clapton playing an SG and Jack Bruce playing an SG bass. That would have been the Cream. If you look at that Cream reunion thing with Clapton playing the SG,
335.
Strat, he played a Strat on it too, though, on the reunion.
Oh, I'm thinking of the old Royal Albert Hall from the.
Right. He played a 335 and the full SG he had. But when Cream got together and did that reunion, whenever that was, he played a Strat, and it didn't sound right.
No.
Those songs
he sounds
were made
different.
with a Strat. Yeah.
I mean, he sounds good with a Strat, but it's not the Cream tone.
It's not. No. It's not what made him famous in my mind. To me, that's Eric Clapton.
Right. The humbucker years.
Not the Strat years.
Hey, Frank, so I think a lesson we just learned is don't judge a pickup by its cover. Right?
That's right. Judge it by its sound. Plug it in.
You know what? They might want to think about selling that aftermarket. If it retrofits some older SG basses, really improve the tone. Because the old ones were just muddy.
It would definitely fit. And it fits the cover.
Well, there you go.
I did those old basses. Yeah.
There you go, Gibson gear people. Start selling that bass replacement pickup.
Yeah. But
All right.
All right. Well,
So
I guess that's the episode, huh? That's
that
it.
takes us to the end of the first quarter of the guitars of the week. Now, in the last episode, we talked about how we kind of rolled it out a quarter at a time. We couldn't do all 48 models at that NAMM show because we literally only had a few weeks to come up with the whole program. So, in next episodes, we'll go through the rest of the lineup. But yeah, so last episode and this one, that's the first quarter. That's the first 12.
But don't forget that part of the whole thing was getting people to see what's next. You know, don't show off too much. You know, not that we really probably could, but it kind of worked to our advantage that, you know, all right, let's keep it hidden and people didn't know. And at some point, you know, it's like, hey, can we get this in by then? Okay, we need to start it. You know, we're doing all this math and figuring like, okay, if we started in the rough mill on this week, it'll be in final assembly.
And some we had to start before others. It didn't always match the launch date.
No,
right?
No,
so especially in the first 12 weeks, you might find guitars that came out week 11 that were in earlier production just because it was a little harder to produce or slower to produce.
Right.
And well, here's the other cool thing. When I look back on some of the new product proposals that we had for this and the paperwork, we launched the new model every Monday on our website.
Wow.
But for other e-commerce sites to be ready, we gave them images and specs ahead of time. And there's always some guys who can't play by the rules, and they would release the next quarter in one shot on their website to capture all the sales. And we had to go back to them and slap their hand and take that down. We do the launch, you know?
Right. Yeah. I remember that backfiring. I remember somebody put all of them up and I was like, hey, wait a minute.
Whoa. Yeah, they're trying to get the jump on everybody else. Like, no, come on. That's not cool.
Yeah, order them here first, you know.
No. Yeah. Hey, Gibson, we don't care what you think. We're just going to run ahead with this. We don't care about you.
Yeah. See, if you try to do something nice, it always backfires.
There's always one guy, right?
Yeah. Proverbial bad apple.
Yep. All right, so that concludes our episode. So, guys, if you like what you're seeing, and this is what our like 7th episode, we're getting great feedback. People are contacting us. It's really cool. So, if you want to get in touch with Frank and I, we have an email address. It is behindtheheadstock@gmail.com. Send us your questions or episode suggestions, or if you want to hear about a certain guitar that we might be able to lend some background information on. You know, we still have a lot of friends over there who've been around a long time, so we can get some inside info. So listen, we really appreciate you watching. Hit the subscribe button, leave a comment or two. We're having a blast doing this, so we look forward to doing more.
Yeah, send us a question and win a free t-shirt. Not one of our shirts, just a shirt we have.
It'll be a Frank John's tour shirt.
Any shirt we have. Oh yeah, get rid of this one.
Yep.
Win a free t-shirt.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Go behind the Headstock with Kevin and Frank, 2 ex-Gibson employees talking about guitars and the guitar industry with an inside perspective.